test, test. City Council workshop meeting test.
I haven't gained
What'd you
weight.
do? You started the.
Well,
Back together, yeah.
no, we just had a 2-hour layover.
Oh, I thought that was your late.
On the way over, no, the flight was 11
It's still
minutes
trying.
Really?
from Atlanta to Istanbul, and then we had a 2-hour layover.
It's every event, every.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, but you
Now,
watch,
did it
they have
affect you
movies.
when you got
I'll be
home?
back soon enough, you know.
No, I was okay.
Frigged up?
So
Did
now
you
we
take
got a
anything?
bunch of work at that point, and I can relax a bit.
Going over there was harder than coming back, because you're going over a day, you're going ahead.
Yeah, that's
When
what
you
Michael
come back-
said.
Yeah, coming back is easy.
Well, at
But when
least
you get there, just try to stay busy for as long as you can. And then
Although I'm pretty good
should
about
work out pretty
teaching my
well,
clients that
because we
we are
don't-
not available after 5 or on the weekends.
we'll-
We
I
don't
just
work.
mean like everybody's so busy all the time, but if it wasn't for emails, I think everything would slow down just a little. But everybody has that
And that's when we normally sleep.
expectation that if they send you an email, you're
I
gonna
don't normally
respond
sleep 8 hours.
You know,
Right.
at least that's what I've experienced.
What's that?
Oh, and I still try to respond to every email from a client within 4 hours. Vendors get 8 hours.
Hey, Billy, where's our water?
I'm not sure.
Where is it? Is it in there?
I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find
Well, I'll
somebody.
go get it.
You want me to wait till you get your computer up, or?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the workshop of Monday, May 20th, 2024. It's 5:30 PM. Lucy, can we have the roll call, please?
Jody Wilkeson.
Here,
Charlie Proctor.
Here.
Melanie Monson. Lance Smith.
Here.
Kenneth Burgess.
Here.
Stephen Spina.
Here.
All right. The first thing, we got workshop items and the transportation impact fees. So I'm gonna wait on Billy, I guess.
Looking for water?
No, this is the next meeting.
Okay. All right. So transportation and public safety impact fees. This is workshop number 2 of the required 2 workshops. Online, we have Clancy Mullins with Duncan and Associates, and in the audience, we have Christopher Hatton with Kimley Horn. I believe they have a short 12-slide presentation that they'd like to present to you, and you can ask any questions at that time or during that presentation.
Awesome, thank you. Good evening, Council. I've wanted to just kind of, again, introduce, we were here, obviously, for the workshop number 1. Clancy, I believe Clancy's on the line. Clancy?
Yeah.
Okay. Just again, from the big picture again, Clancy is from Duncan Associates, and they conducted their industry experts in terms of impact fees, and they have been, we've worked with them again throughout the state of Florida on several different impact fee updates over probably the last 10 or 15 years. We were here originally again for the workshop 1 where we went through the update for the roads and public safety and parks. Clancy has updated that spreadsheet or the slide deck for the PowerPoint, so he can run through that again. And then I know there are some specific questions that we know that we have from a few of you. So Clancy, if you want to go ahead and maybe just run through again the overview and any of the changes that I know you did make, and then we can open it for specific questions. Does that sound good?
Yeah. The reason for the changes to the study was I realized we didn't have exactly the right fees in Table 1, the current fees for transportation, and it was the general government fees, not general government, the general office fees that we were showing the increase from. And that turned out was actually lower than what we had in the schedule. So the study's been adjusted to reflect current fees, and the changes but that changed the phasing schedule. It didn't change the ultimate fees, but it changed the phasing schedule. So you can't do it in just 6 years. It would take 8 years to phase in the updated fees because the current fee was actually lower than what. So that was really the only correction that changed, and that's reflected in the PowerPoint. The only other change to the PowerPoint is that we received the data, at least for single family and multifamily, for transportation from Dade City, so that's been updated a little bit. Okay, we can go to the first slide. This first slide just shows
Up until just now,
legal basics.
it was working, working fine.
Point it down.
I don't see it up on the screen.
I'll try. Literally 3 minutes ago, it was working fine.
Well.
More practice.
Basics of impact fees. So an impact fee is designed to cover the cost of maintaining existing level of service, not to raise the level of service, just to maintain the existing level of service to accommodate new development. It needs to be calculated in compliance with statutes and case law to be proportionate to the impacts of development, address the need created by the development, and provide a benefit to the development. And the key thing here is it needs to be proportionate. And we'll get into that in a little more detail. The city's transportation impact fees were adopted in 2008, 40%. 31 of the 36 categories are still based on 2008 studies, so that's 16 years ago. 5 minor categories were added in 2015 at 60% of the 2015 study. Those don't actually affect this analysis at all because minor non-residential categories. The park fees were adopted in 2004 at 100%. There's only 3 land uses there. We're reducing that down to 2. Public safety fees were adopted in 2005, but that also was based on a 2004 study. It was originally fire and police fees, but then police only. And the fees that you are charging just for the police portion. And there are just 2 land use categories in that fee schedule, residential and non-residential. Now the slide, I don't know if you can see it, because it's changing on the screen, but we're on the study changes. So we don't have the original transportation and park study. They're 16 years old or 20 years old, depending, and those just don't seem to be available anymore.
Is that right?
But we do know,
Hey, Clancy, could you hold on a second? You said that we don't have the old traffic study?
yeah, the 2008 study.
Is that correct? We have to have it
I don't
somewhere,
have
right?
it.
I mean, I'm asking our staff here. I mean, I'm sure we have it.
We've not sent the study. The study has not been sent to
Well,
them.
I mean,
The fees,
wouldn't that have been a logical starting point for the whole thing?
well, there was a request for all the fees and all the
Well,
types.
Those fees are so old, we weren't really relying on them for any kind of basis or.
That's what we're charging. I mean, it's a basis for charging now, is it not?
Right, it is.
So I mean, I don't know. I just find it odd that you wouldn't start with the original study and work from there, but that's okay.
Well, if I can interject, I think how we're charging and calculating what the fees are now are completely different from the last study, which are the current fees. So I don't, again,
But-
I'm not the one doing the study,
But
but
isn't the increase, the percentage of increase that we're using based on the old study and the old fees? I know the numbers, but I mean, when I looked at it, I don't know how you take as many different categories as we had, say, in office and lump it into something and come up with what we did, or what the new one's going to.
Bill Burgess, building official. The old study, if memory serves me, that was a multiplier, and it was based on construction of a lane mile. It was like $569,000 per lane mile, and a multiplier for each category out of the ITE book, which I think was like, I don't even know if that book exists anymore.
Right.
So I think everything is gone. I don't think it would have made a big difference based on what he's doing now, but.
Right. I mean, I just don't understand how we took all the office categories, which were, I thought they were well thought out at the time, and we lump it into an amount that we have now that we calculate as one number. You understand what I'm saying? Our office categories were like, there was like 15 of them. They were bank was different, medical was different, all of them. And that's the thing that's given us, that's the biggest increase, which kind of is the one that's triggering all the issues. So I guess my question is, what methodology was used to determine an average office fee that we're basing our 100% or whatever it is increase on?
Well, you just have, I mean, your current fees just have one office well, they have two. They have office and general, general and medical.
That's not correct. There's a drive-in bank, a quality, I'm sorry, but there's several. There's a general office and a medical office, right?
Well, those aren't really in the office category. Those are in the commercial category, retail commercial.
Yeah, but let's just extrapolate that further. An office uses X amount of water a month. A medical office will have 10 times the plumbing fixtures and use more water in that aspect. So then do we charge them a plumbing impact fee in addition to what they've paid when the developer built the building out?
Yeah, we do. Those are pay utility impact fees.
Right.
And they pay per fixture. I think the object here is to reduce that and make it easier, average it out, average the use out in a district so that they figure it based on, set uses. So I think it's easier for the staff to look at it and say, we charge so much for this use and so much for this. I think having 31 different uses like we did in one thing is crazy.
I think it's cumbersome, but I do think there's a difference between the transportation and caused by, let's just say, a medical office as opposed to a attorney.
I don't know. Some people may go to the bank every day. Other people may
An
just go to
attorney.
the doctor once every 6 months. And I think
No,
all
but what
those-
I'm saying is, it's not per individual, it's the traffic per business. That business, Florida Medical, has people coming every 15 minutes.
And they're required to have 6 per 1,000 parking versus a regular office, which would only require 3
So
spaces.
I just think by lumping it all together, it's kind of like, if some little guy wanted to put an office in, it's kind of unfairly penalizing them. I think retail's the same way too, because there's no distinction between a restaurant with a drive-through and a fine dining restaurant. Everybody just pays a lump sum, am I right? Or that's what we're trying to go to?
Well, we're trying to,
Simplify.
I mean, we have a whole section of the report that tries to explain why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, there's, ITE, if we're just talking about transportation, lists hundreds of categories. I mean, you could say we'd have to put everything that's in ITE in the fee schedule.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we had some categories before that we're using. I mean, I understand wanting to simplify it, but maybe making it simpler is not equitable.
Now, any user that's coming up and thinks that they are less or more, obviously, they're probably not going to go for something to be able to say, hey, we can do an independent study. So we don't usually see those a lot, but they certainly have the opportunity to do that.
Right, and I mean, I understand there's an appeal process and everything, but, you know, it might make somebody just say, you know, I'm going to pass on it, and I'm not saying that it would, but I just know starting a business, you have tremendous expenses, and, you know, a Chick-fil-A can certainly pay whatever it would be, but a
Froyo shop.
Coco Pelli trying to come down on a fine dining, that just isn't the same. I mean, you have a drive-through with a Chick-fil-A, there's less table turns on a small small establishment. So I just don't think that the lumping them all together is fair. You know, as well as I don't know how the methodology, how you come up with one number that you base the old fees on for 30 categories.
Can you explain that, Clancy?
Most of the detailed categories, we're talking about retail, commercial, and the ITE manual, almost all of the fee categories have a higher than the retail commercial. We're just using the shopping center fee as the basis for the fee for all retail commercial, because you can have a mix. If it's in a shopping center versus it's not in a shopping center, it shouldn't make a difference. And you have all kinds of uses in shopping centers. I mean, you know, so it's a very good general fee. We've tried to design the categories so they don't overcharge anybody. They tend to be conservative. So I don't really think the equity problem is an issue, but if you're concerned about it, you know, we have to go back to the drawing board and.
Well, I'm just pointing out that I don't feel it is fair in certain cases, you know. And the thing about it is, we're the ones who end up hearing about the certain cases after we establish the fees. You know, y'all are long gone, but it's the constituents that'll come up to us and say, hey, they're going to try and charge me X amount on the impact fees, transport impact fees. And we're like, well, you know. So, I mean, I just, the more I went through it, the more uncomfortable I was feeling with it.
Well, let me ask you this. So, I mean, the idea behind consolidating it is for ease for the staff, correct? I mean, does the staff have issues, tremendous issues with this? I mean, I understand if it's Tampa, a whole county, we have, you know, I mean, we're growing, obviously. We got a lot more business. But, I mean, is there really that big of an impact on doing it, leaving it the way it is? Is it that much trouble? I mean, who I mean, you got different categories for building codes and stuff as it is already that you can't do anything with.
We haven't had a lot of complaints one way or the other from staff or from the public on the impact fees. I think our impact fees are so low at this point that nobody questions them.
Right, but I mean.
Actually, the only ones we do get questioned on are usually the drive-through restaurant, the fast food restaurants, because they're like almost $30,000.
Yeah, I would say theirs is quite a bit higher than other restaurants. But what I'm saying is, to you, the concern, just like Councilman Smith is saying, if you have somebody just open up, like, let's say a little, I don't even know what business it would be, but they're going to have maybe 3 people a day come in there, as opposed to like a drive-through bank or something like that.
I haven't had through the years have to use my own judgment on some of the retail ones, because you have shopping center, you have specialty retail, you have
right.
I forget what the other retail is, but they're close, and you know, one's 12,000 per thousand, one's 5,000 per thousand. So to make that,
you have to make that determination.
Yes, I have to make that determination, and I have been questioned a time or two on it, but.
But even with that, the questioning is still what he's saying. There's an opportunity, or like Chris was saying, there's an opportunity to. You know, challenge it or whatever. If, in a situation like that, you know, there's an opportunity for someone to challenge it if they needed to. But to kind of go along with what Lance is saying is, I get it, you know, consolidating would make it easier, but I can understand why the county does it, I guess, in some of the bigger cities, because
The only other thing I could say is that if you did consolidate it, it would make it easier if you add a new category or somebody comes with an unusual category. Because now car
How do we handle
wash,
that right
we
now?
had determined years ago, and it was like $3,000 per wash station. So now they come in with one bay, and it's a $3,000 impact fee, or, it's, I don't know if it's gonna be more per thousand, it's based on one bay versus square footage, so.
It also goes into if there's a change of use, so if you go from restaurant to bank or something like that, calculating the difference from what they paid to what the new impact is, and then the discussion of, well, why are you charging me more? The impact fees have already been paid. Where if you have the one use, the second business coming in, regardless if it's more traffic or not, it's the same square footage, so there's not another impact fee that has to be paid.
So what you're doing right now, you're saying is not, we've been handling it fairly easily. If we went to a consolidation where we were getting challenged a lot, is that gonna, that's not really gonna be beneficial, because now you're opening up for challenges all the time?
Well,
I don't know, I mean.
The only reason we added more categories as years went on, we had more different uses, like, we had the like Wawa type use, which we didn't have a convenience store with gas station, and then we had to add that. We had a daycare use we had to add,
Every time you
car
had
wash.
something, you added something.
We had to go back to to Christopher and ask them to figure out some new category, and they have to go in the ITE manual and determine that.
This schedule, though, looks to me like it's lowering the rates so that the drive-through is not going to be paying $30,000. It's the same for a restaurant or a fast food. So in terms of equity, the higher prices are coming down. I don't think the
And the
smaller
lowers are
places
going up,
going
though.
up.
They are. They are. If you do the calculation, they are. In other words, why should a restaurant that doesn't have a drive-through pay, obviously the drive-through impacts it more, or even why should a small retail guy pay the same as the Wawa? That doesn't make sense.
And I think, I don't know, Christopher, maybe other things add into your knowledge, like banking, less people use the bank now. They don't go
I
through
agree.
the drive-through. They do mostly online. You got Uber Eats or whatever that, people aren't, I guess they still have to make that trip, but.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I know there's no perfect system. I get that. But I just think that we might be dinging the little guy a little bit with this,
Well, if we're gonna try and collect basically the same amount, it would, if one goes down, something has to go up.
Somebody's got to pay.
Right, something has to go up. Otherwise, we're going backwards then, which that's not the intention. Councilwoman Wilkinson.
Yes, thank you. So I think that, in my opinion, I think we're very close. I think we brought up two examples that it wouldn't hurt anything to look at a subcategory, for example. So when we talk about office, I think we made a good point that medical office has a tremendously different impact on transportation than it does on office. And we might look at our parking ratios so that they're somewhat reflective of one another. So if we have a parking ratio for one type of use and parking ratio for another type of use, that implies what the trips generated are. So, or uses. So those are the kinds of things, like I would like to see those things interfaced. I feel like we're jumping in saying general office gets one, office gets one. I mean, like the most comparable fee and updated category. See, there's a general office, a warehouse, and then there could be industrial, and then there could be, which there is, and then there could be medical office, for example. I don't know. And the same thing we've talked about with restaurants. I just feel like that there were just a few categories would make a big difference to improve it. A few additional categories. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we could really look at, supermarket, that's just supermarket. That's pretty much the same. But like you said, some of those offices and restaurants, yeah, if there could be a subcategory of some sort, maybe there's a modified solution there somewhere. Anybody else have anything you want?
I don't, I mean, I know we need to increase it, but I just think lumping them together is not fair.
So just a question on that, kind of looking at where retail and commercial fall, it goes to $8,000. When you're looking at what we have that's shown on here, hotels and motels are at $1,400 a room. I don't know what category that would fall into. I'm assuming commercial. It then goes to 8,000 per square foot, or 1,000 square feet. It's not a huge increase.
I mean, we don't know. We need to do some real life,
Modeling.
real life situations, because until you do that, we don't know. I mean, you don't know.
The study does have a footnote that shows that hotel motel is gonna pay about the same under either a per room basis or just the shopping center rate that we propose. So I don't think there's a major concern there. I think in general, we cover the bases. I don't think we're overcharging anybody. Now there may be some cases where we're not charging as much. I mean, I think, certainly the medical office, if we put it in the fee schedule, would be higher. But medical offices sometimes are in an office with general government or non-medical office uses. So there's a lot of pros and cons you could do. Another thing to think about is that, we're thinking about at least utilizing the extraordinary circumstances option. That may not stay available in the future, and the more categories you add, the more chances you have for having categories, fees for a very minor category change increase much more than the other categories. And if that happens, you're back to what you're looking at now.
What do you think the appetite for them adjusting the proportionality at the legislature?
I mean, that's fundamental case law. I don't think the legislature is going to try to change that.
Because I kind of thought that was, I mean, a lot of the issues comes from South Florida on some of this stuff, I know, and that was my understanding, that there was a look at some changing on the proportionality, because that's really the difficult portion for everybody, I think, is that segment, trying to use the proportionality and then phasing in the increases, then making sure they're equitable at the end of the phase-in. So, I mean, and I say that because when you said that we were having, if they could leave it the way they are, you're right, having 4 categories is much easier for the proportionality side of it. But I don't know if that's going to be modified or not. I mean,
yeah, we just don't know. Typically, every time they make a change, it's to make impact fees more difficult rather than worry about, reining them in too much. So, until there's a change in that, the legislature, I don't foresee that change, but, you never know what could happen in the future.
sure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack the slide deck either, so if...
Okay, we want to continue with the presentation.
Excuse me, Clancy, can you hear me? This is Councilwoman Wilkson. So one of the suggestions I just made was that we compare these categories to the different categories we have in parking requirements for a particular use. It's based on square footage, based on a type of use. So if those are interfaced with the types of uses we have listed in this, doesn't that sort of support, does that support our decision-making process? I mean, that's what, the point was, transportation-wise, if you have a medical office, it generates a lot more trips to a particular property than a mom-and-pop shop. So those are the kind of things that, I mean, I just would feel better that if we acknowledge that there's some difference to the environment impact, to the environment and some public safety.
Well, we do know there's differences in trip generation. The question is, do we want a separate category for medical office? I mean, we have a trip generation rates from ITE, so we don't need to rely on your parking standards. You know, so I'm not sure that's anything we want to take a look at or need to look at.
Yeah, I'll disagree, yeah.
Okay, would we like for him to continue with the presentation and then circle back to that? Okay, if, Clancy, if you just go ahead and continue on, and we'll go back to that as needed.
Okay, so we're on the city changes slide. Is that, can you guys see it now?
Study changes?
Okay.
Yes.
So changes to the land use, the second big bullet. Simplification of the transportation land uses. Park land uses are basically unchanged. Expansion of the public safety categories to mirror the transportation category. So those are the changes to the land use categories. Phasing requirements in the next slide. So the 2021 limitations that were imposed by the legislature restrict any increase up to 25% to be phased in over 2 years. Any increase up to 50% must be phased in over 4 years. Fees may not be increased more often than once in 4 years, well, except for the required phasing. And phased increases must be equal annual amounts. And then we also have to comply with the proportionality requirement, which basically means, you know, fees have to be proportional to the impact of the land use. So, I mean, that is red letter law. I mean, that's case law, that's constitutional law. So that basically means all the fees need to be at the same percentage of the updated fee. So we can't just increase every individual fee by 50% or 25% or whatever percent it could, the maximum it could go, because at the end of the 4-year period, we would not be at the same percentage for all the land uses. So it's the fee that's increasing the most is going to be at the lowest percentage at the end of 4 years. And all the other land uses must be at that same percentage in order for it to be proportional. So we have to suspend proportionality for the interim period, because if you increase it by equal annual amount, it's going to be exactly proportional. But if you didn't carry out the 4-year phase in other words, if you halted it in year 2, as appears to have happened in the transportation fees, you guys, the city adopted back in 2015. I mean, those were planned to eventually get to be proportional, but the phasing never happened. There was just the initial adoption, and now you've got fees that are based on 2 different studies at 2 different percentages. So anyway, they all need to be at the same percentage at the end of the phasing period. And that presents a lot of complications, which we'll talk about in the next slide. Extraordinary circumstances option. So we need to prepare a needs analysis. We've done that. It's in the study. It's in the second chapter of the study after the executive summary. We need 2 publicly noticed workshops to be held. This is the second one proposed. The ordinance that adopts the updated fees that vary from the phasing requirements must be adopted by a 2/3 majority of the governing body. Current and updated fees, we're comparing them here. So we're comparing it, so the top shows the updated fees for for the 3 different facilities and then the total. And then in the middle part of the table, we're comparing that to the most comparable fee in the updated category. And then in the final section of the report, the bottom section, we're comparing, it shows the percent change from current fees. So you can see that the ones increasing the most for transportation is office. That's increasing by 128%. That's going to take you 8 years to phase that in. You got the park fees, single families going up 14%. That requires a 2-year phase in. And we're not doing extraordinary circumstances for parks, but because, basically the first year you adopted it at half the increase and then you get the full fee in the second year at the end of the first year. So beginning of the second year. So it's really just a 1-year loss of potential revenue. For public safety, it's the retail fee, 700%, like an 8-fold increase. So that's going up a lot, and that's going to take 22 years to phase that in if you were to, of course, you don't have to continue to phase it 4 years and do another study, but you may have the same problem when you do the next study. All right, next slide is we did rough estimates of the revenue impacts from the phasing. So you're getting about 2.8 million right now for transportation. In the 4th year of phasing for transportation, you'd be getting about 22.4 million, or about 15% less revenue. And if you did not phase them at all, you didn't opt them at 1%, you'd get about a 29% increase in revenue. Now for public safety, it's you're getting a much smaller amount. Obviously, you're getting just under 130,000. You'll be getting about 60,000 with phasing. You'll be getting about $250,000 no phasing, substantial increase, at least in percentage terms. Next slide, extraordinary circumstances summary. To summarize transportation, the fees haven't been updated in 16 years. Construction costs have increased significantly in that time. The updated fees are based on local data, and I think this is probably where why the fees are not going up much after 16 years. Because I don't believe this was done in the original study. It was based largely on Pasco County data or sub-area of Pasco County data for local travel demand. Phasing over the next 4 years would reduce the fee revenue by roughly 15%. It would take 8 years of phasing to fully implement the updated fee. For public safety, those fees have not been up in 20 years. The methodology has been changed to better reflect the loss and impact of development, causing retail commercial fees to increase dramatically compared to the current fee for all non-residential. Phasing over 4 years would reduce fee revenue by roughly 50%. It would take 22 years of phasing to fully implement the updated fees. So that really covers, so it leaves you with the implementation options. So you can either not affirm extraordinary circumstances, in which case you could adopt a 2-year phasing schedule for parks or 4-year phasing schedule for transportation and public safety. Or you could adopt extraordinary for transportation and public safety, so you would still do a 2-year phasing schedule for parks. You could adopt transportation and public safety fees at 100% immediately, or as soon as they could. You need to wait at least 90 days for notice. You adopt transportation public safety fees at less than 100%, or you could adopt them at less than 100% initially and then increase that percentage over several years. So that kind of lays out your options. We've looked at comparative jurisdictions. Same slide we showed last time, except we added the Dade City transportation fee. So you can see that for Plant City and Pasco County, the sum of the fees is going to be considerably higher than it is for pure unpaid fees. Each fee the household would be somewhat lower, about $2,000 lower, single family, and about $1,000 lower for multifamily. We also looked at Newport Richey. They apparently do not assess any non-utility or non-school impact fees. Well, that concludes the presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Clancy. Does anybody have anything right off the top of their heads they want to?
I do. And Clancy, when we figured for the transportation, we just use city streets, right? As far as an amount, we just calculate it based on just the city streets?
No, that include county and state roads within the city limits.
So they are included in there, in the calculation?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure, because we partner with Pasco County on some county roads. I just wanted to make sure we would have the ability to use those funds to still partner and leverage our dollars that way.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's okay?
Yeah.
Part of the information that staff sent was expenses that we've incurred on 54, on just different roads that are not city jurisdiction.
Right, and I know that the Nexus requires us to come up with a dollar amount per lane mile. So I just wanted to make sure that we might have an opportunity on 301 or Island Boulevard or 54 again, to utilize our dollars, and it's not going to handcuff us.
Correct. Yep. Actually, we have an agreement with Pasco County that any big box, which is defined as 50,000 square foot or more, and any PUDs that we collect transportation impact fees on, 90% of those fees have to be put into a separate account to be utilized on projects that are agreed upon by both Zephyrhills and Pasco County.
Billy, when was the last time that we looked at this study, with this impact fees?
Impact fees was 2008, I believe. Yeah, the last study was 2008.
Those are the same fees that we've been using right up to date?
Correct.
And one other thing, and I do agree, it does look like Councilman Smith said, that it's going to be hitting the smaller guys. The impact fees are going to be a lot higher on the smaller projects. I understand with the bigger projects. And this is new projects only, correct?
It's just new projects.
Or change of use.
So change of use, currently, with the new simplified plan, if they still fall in the same office or commercial, it doesn't matter if they have a higher trip generation, the fees would still be the same because it's based on the square footage. Well, it's charged on the square footage. Did I say that right? Okay, all right. I want to make sure I say it right.
One last thing, though, a lot of these fees are based on the amount of traffic that they bring in, correct?
Correct.
That's why the hospitals are so high and supermarkets and such.
Correct.
Thanks.
Okay, so kind of recap, obviously we see a need to for impact fees to be looked at. Those slides of extraordinary circumstances obviously point that out. I think that the adopting of the fees at 100% is the way to go as opposed to phasing. Is that, I don't know how anybody else feels, because we're looking at, I think it was said that we could look at this again in we have to wait 4 years if we.
Have to wait 4 years.
Okay, so one of them said it would take 8 years before it was fully implemented, and then the other one for public safety was like 22 years. So I would much prefer to adopt it 100%, and we could look at it in 4 years. I mean, there's nothing saying you can't ever lower fees too if it's, you know, something's not out of whack. So the modeling, I mean, the implementation, well, I guess where we're kind of really hung up a little bit is on the simplification of categories. And you heard our concerns on that. I'm kind of looking at it as like right now staff is handling it seems to be fine, and there are a few occasional things that have to be looked at a little bit more extensively, I guess. If we were to go with the less categories and then possible challenges, I feel like there would be even more things you'd have to look at in that point. But in light of either one of those, I think we would like to see some modeling of how does that fall? What does it really mean to the smaller use, or the smaller use like an office space as opposed to medical? If we could see those numbers side by side, it'd make it a lot easier.
I agree.
Let me ask a question. In the report they gave us, is on page 2, table 1, current transportation impact fees. Is that what we use now?
Yes.
Well, if you look at general office building and medical dentist, they're both judged at 1,000 square feet, but the fee unit is different. Can you explain that? You can't see what I'm looking at, but.
So which categories are you looking at?
I'm on table 1, current transportation impact fees.
Right.
And, well, I'm looking at, well, if you look at all the commercial, really, I mean, they're pretty much all $1,000 square foot based on.
Yeah, some that are per pump.
Per 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So what are the rates that make them?
Well, it makes it difficult to compare to the updated fees if we're not going to keep those same, you know, if we're going to base it on per 1,000 square feet rather than pump. But we could.
I think that's on,
Chris.
I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on. I think it's on the bottom.
And you can see how much each category is changing, would be changing.
Billy, Burgess, would you come here a minute? Behind here? This is what.
Building code application.
Steve, I think what you're asking is just why the difference in the rate if it's still using the same per unit charge. And again, the trip generation, trip length, and the trip type. So there's 3 different items that basically determine the assessment of an impact fee. So it's just not how much traffic it's generated, it's also the distance they are
So
traveling.
when you consolidate it, it would all be, these 2 numbers would be the same?
They'll be blended, yeah.
It'd be calculated at the same
Theory,
rate.
Yeah, in theory, if you put it together, it's going to be an average in terms of the trip generation rate here and here, you'd come to something like. Correct. And that's just honestly the one thing that was being discussed earlier, is that has just been the trend throughout pretty much all municipalities, I would say over the last 10 years, is to try to consolidate. So it's not like, just to make it easier, it's basically something for just, honestly, simplification. What I've seen on a widespread is a lot of people doing, just think of the last 10 years, doing due diligence. They're trying to figure out, trying to do specifics, trying to identify and plug it into a category, get a number, and decide yay or nay, that kind of thing.
So to address Lance's concern then, if you do this, wouldn't the square footage resolve that issue? A small CPA is not going to have the same square footage as Florida Medical Center. So won't that balance the
Well,
difference?
it would, but they'd be still charged the same rate per thousand. And that's,
Yeah, but to Steve's, what he's basically saying, if you only have a 2,500 square foot building, you're going to basically be 2.5 times. So you're going to pay
Sure.
like $8,000 versus, a 100,000 square foot building that is going to be paying, $200,000. But
Yeah.
yes, it is a per rate.
But in my mind, I'm like thinking that if I had a small office that was just
Yeah.
an investor, I don't have many people coming in, I'm paying the same rate per thousand as the doctor who has people coming in every hour or every 15 minutes. It might not be, the amount might not be the same, but I'm paying the same rate per thousand.
Right. Again, I think you can definitely point that out. I think we can look at any category, and there definitely is going to be an anomaly here or there.
Sure.
Which would be like the medical office. And we talked about kind of the reverse being the bank, where people don't go to the bank as much as they used to,
They
that
don't.
type of thing. So that would be lower. So I'm sure there are some of those, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, something that comes to mind to me is like the Wawa, that's like a trip generator and a half, and some little small boutique retail person is going to pay the same rate per thousand as the Wawa, right?
The Wawa is going to be charged for pumps and other accesses.
No, not
they
under the
are.
new one. That's
Yeah,
not right.
They'll have just the.
There's the office. And that's
It's just like Councilman Burgess said, the lows are going to come up and the highs are going to come down. I don't think that's necessarily equitable.
I understand the whole concept behind it, the consolidation. I get that, but that's exactly right. If somebody's going to be paying less, somebody's going to be paying more. There's just no way around it. And you could really look at the restaurant itself. You got quality restaurant, sit-down restaurant, fast food. Let's just say they're all 1,000 square feet. And you look at the numbers are different. Now, if we go to a consolidation, all three of those would be averaged out. So we got 26, 13, and 9, just say. That would be averaged out. So, again, the fast food is probably generating a lot more, is going to be paying less, and then the person who wasn't generating many trips is going to be paying more.
And that's not equitable. I mean,
And-
and look at
and-
why do they do that in the parking? So I'm looking at land development code, I'm looking at parking, and parking for a doctor's office is 150 square feet per thousand. It's probably more than that, but for a regular office space, it's only 200 square feet per thousand. So they have significantly less requirements for parking, yet we're telling them, oh, you have to pay the same amount. I'm just saying, I think
But
that's,
why don't we just leave the categories the same way and leave the categories?
I don't think we can because of the proportionality portion of it.
Well, you can keep
Right.
the same category, but I completely agree with Madam Secretary.
Well, you could have two categories or three categories in office, and then you could have three categories in restaurants or
Right.
something, and then,
I kind of look at.
I still think I don't understand how, anyway.
I kind of think that the way we look at it is I understand consolidation. It does simplify things too, but also it's easier for we're still kind of thinking small towns. We want to handle every business like we would as a small town. Like, this guy, it's why we're bringing this up. If it was a huge city or a full county, it kind of makes sense because it's just, it'll be absorbed basically. So I think the way to look at it is we're trying to, how can we do this and still act like a small town where we're helping the little guy, which is, that's the way I look at it anyways.
I don't think you can even rely on the parking totally because, when we permitted the movie theater up there, the 10 Theater, we went round and around about the parking and we ended up using the county and we required more parking than he's ever used. That whole back parking spot, the only vehicles I've ever seen there have been fire trucks. So, there's no perfect solution, and I don't understand, I guess I just can't get my mind around the math in terms of if the square footage is different, that should be covering the different costs. I don't understand that.
It's a lower cost, but it's a higher rate for the little guy. In other words, than we had before.
Less
But
impactful use.
in this, I'm looking at the current fees. General office buildings, 1,000 square feet, so much for 1,000 square feet. That's
Yeah, right.
insane.
Yeah, no, what Councilman Smith's saying, I believe, is if you, just for round numbers, that use would potentially be $1,000 per 1,000 square feet, and we're increasing it to 4,000 per 1,000 square foot. So on what they're paying today would be more, right? It would go up $3,000 more per square foot. I didn't look at the numbers here. I'm just picking numbers. So I'm assuming that's what I'm hearing from you,
I'm
Craig.
looking at the proposed rate. General office building, $1,000 a square foot. Office, $1,000 a square foot.
No, it's per thousand. It's
the
right
fees
hand.
on the far right column.
yeah.
So it'd be, so for instance, I'm trying to find which one you said. A variety store is $12,979 per 1,000 square feet. So every 1,000 square foot, you pay $12,000 or $13,000. So you take the far right column and divide it by the number of 1,000 square feet.
Multiply.
Or multiply, yeah.
By 1,000.
Far right column?
Flip what you have there. Go back to page 2.
All of the
I got
fees
page
are
2
based
here.
on-
All right.
Huh?
All of the fees, like, I think it's 5,000 for medical, if you look
Right,
at that category.
5,900.
That's
Right.
based per 1,000 square feet, so like Lance is saying, you're paying $5,000 per 1,000 square foot of office space, where a general office is paying like. what is this,
1,800.
They're paying 1,800.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's, and they're gonna mesh them, and they're gonna be somewhere in between now, is what they're.
And I think the rationale at the time was that a medical office is going to have greater impact on transportation than just a general office building, which in my mind does make sense.
That's correct. I think, well, I mean, it's straight out of the ITE manuals, and so that takes that into consideration.
And doesn't, like, Christopher, doesn't the traffic rate or distances, that doesn't come into effect anymore?
No, it does, but trip generation's usually you might change like a 1.4 trip length per mile, 1.6, when your trip rate's gonna be 20 or 40, so it usually has a bigger indicators, the trip generation, so. But they all do matter, the trip length, the trip type, whether or not it's a pass-by trip. You don't pay for pass-by trips, those type of things. But again, in the discussion that we're having right now, medical and office, you don't have pass-by and stuff like that, because everybody's going there
Their
for
Headed there,
destination.
yeah.
That's
for the
right.
most part.
But specialty retail and variety stores are in a different category than the general office here.
Right, yeah,
Yep.
I understand that. But what I'm saying also is that now, when we go to a specialty retail store, is going to pay the same transportation impact fee as the Wawa would, or the Lowe's, or Publix,
Or the CPA across the street.
same thing. Well, yeah, but that's office probably.
But who's in a 1,500 square foot space that may generate one trip per day? A 1,500 square foot office space is a 2-doc shop, and they've got 20 patients to 30 patients a day. So that, I mean, this is what I do all day long. So in the city of Tampa, they wouldn't lump them together.
What a 1,500 square foot building is gonna cost, $16,000 or $12,000 in impact fees? Is that gonna deter them from building in Zephyrhills? If they're building, I don't know what cost of construction is, a 1,500 square foot office building at $200 a square foot, is $12,000 going to deter them from building here?
Yep.
Opposed to 6,000?
Yeah, and I think when you get up over 5,000 square foot, then it starts making a difference,
Which is the chain restaurants at that point.
Correct.
I mean-
So if somebody had a fine dining 5,000 they wanted to build, should they pay the same as Chick-fil-A with a drive-through? So, I mean, under our old one, let's just do this while we're sitting right here.
What would the Saigon restaurant here pay versus Chick-fil-A?
Well, 5,000 square foot, and I'm just going to say $9,000 for the quality restaurant would be $45,000 of 5,000 square foot, right? Is that right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. But the fast food with the drive-through at 5,000 square foot is $25,000 every 1,000. So it'd be 25,000 times 5, roughly, which is 125,000. So 45,000 versus 125,000. Under our new one, they would just be all lumped in the same, and I don't have that right in front of me. But I think it would be helpful to go through those analyses.
I think it drops in that case. It'd be 8,000 per 1,000.
So the question is, so it's 8,000. So why should the Chick-fil-A be paying only 8,000? Is my question, when they generate a tremendous amount of traffic, the same as the Poor Saigon. And I know there's no
perfect.
there's no perfect solution, but I mean, I thought when we broke them out, it was kind of, at least we were trying to be equitable, you know.
That's
And I
what I'm
know
sa-
it's a pain.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. I think that's what we were doing, and that's why I try to use an analogy. We're trying to treat it like a small town, you know, people as they come. And to Billy's point too, I mean, we also have to look at, we don't want to make it where people don't want to come here at all for whatever reason. So we have to.
And the other thing is we need to increase them. We know.
Well, yeah,
we
and that's
understand
that's a given right there. And so, but there's no way to keep our categories and kind of do the same percentage increase.
I don't think there is.
Well, I think that the large ones are going to come no matter what they are. Yeah.
Right.
Because they're paying more in Tampa or Hillsborough County or
Sure.
Pasco County.
But 60% of our businesses have fewer than 15 employees. So none of them fall into that category. So if you think about even attracting new business, and the chamber could probably give us numbers, but trying to attract new business, they may walk away because the cost to build a structure here would be significantly more than it would be in the county.
Most of the new businesses coming here are coming to existing buildings. They're not building, we're not having CPAs or all these other people come in and building brand-new buildings. They're occupying current buildings. So they're getting a reduced rate or a rate already based on what was there, so they're paying nothing.
Mixed use. Mixed use, we've eliminated that category. So mixed use, the developers coming into town that we want to attract, but they would have maybe a coffee shop downstairs and residents upstairs, and now they're generating a lot more trips than what was vacant land before. We may only have one opportunity to capture that revenue. But
So they would pay, if it's a mixed use like that, if it's a one residential unit, they would pay the residential impact fee, and then they would pay the appropriate office or retail fee. So we'd be able to collect it that way. If I can just point out, like the retail commercial for Pasco County is 10,500 for retail and commercial per 1,000, where ours is proposed to be 79, or say right at 8,000. So we are lower than Pasco County's, based on slide number 12 of the presentation.
Well, maybe we need to go back and look at this and see how we can break it into categories that are more equitable, where we have where we have high traffic users, we know, put them where they belong, and then we can reduce some of the mom and pop type category, and that can go across a different thing, and bring it back, because we can't hash this out here with, you know, and I think try with the goal of getting it done by October 1st.
Well, actually, it needs to be done by August 7th because of the state statute. The studies began August 7th. So you have to have your fees implemented within 12 months of the study, which started August 7th. But one thing I'll say.
Can't we just determine that, yes, we have extraordinary circumstances?
I'll agree.
And work on fine-tuning the
Fine-tune the
fees?
numbers.
Yeah, so if I can just ask one question, I mean, if you have a mom and pop who has a killer ice cream store and they're bringing people in every 15 minutes, they're generating more traffic than
And the Dairy Queen with the drive-through?
If they're good.
I don't know about
But
that.
that's the whole idea, though. I mean, that's the mom and pop. We have one downtown. They didn't, what did they pay for impact fee? Probably nothing,
Nothing.
because they're an existing building, somebody had
Right.
a use there. So we're worrying about people that are already not paying anything. I'm more worried about getting Chick-fil-A and Wawa off the hook. I don't think the mom and pops, I don't think we're being unequitable to them. They're not paying as
Well,
it
I
is.
think you're right. I think you bring up a good point, because shouldn't they pay more? Shouldn't
They
Chick-fil-A?
should pay what they're paying,
Right.
maybe.
Shouldn't
But the
Chick-fil-A and
other
Wawa
one-
pay more?
But yeah, they need to pay more because we need the fee, but the mom and pops aren't paying already.
Well, I think what you brought up a pretty good point. So let's go, but restaurants are easy to look at, the three categories there. So you're right, we're not getting people coming here like a prime 1988 up in Brooksville that's building a new building restaurant. We are getting the chain restaurants. They're going to come here. I mean, that is a consideration too, but
I mean, we're gonna get Longhorns, they're building a building, they'll pay whatever he tells them to pay.
Yeah.
But, you know, Hangry Joe's or whatever the hell that is, they just went into an old restaurant that turned
Right.
over and turned over and turned over.
Yeah.
So they're not paying anything.
Yeah, I think it's more, if we want to look at it, let's look at it more of drive-through, the turnover, more so than mom and pops. Because I could, not financially, I can't do it, but I could go out and buy a piece of property, open up my own business that has a drive-through, and I'm a mom and pop business, and I'm still generating the same traffic as Chick-fil-A, right? Because I have a drive-through, if I have a good product, right? Maybe not Chick-fil-A,
Right, yeah.
Popeyes, right?
Yeah, I think they're getting a raw deal, Popeyes.
So one other quick question, sorry. One other quick question, and that is, it might be important to understand what kind of new business are we attracting? So I know we went through a phase where we built a bunch of these little condo developments with individual buildings in them, and they were medical users for the most part. They were either office or medical, but you know which ones I'm talking about. Like there's a couple on Daughtry Road. So those are I don't know if we're doing those anymore, because really the single doc shops are kind of going away, and they're doing more of these managed care, big practices. But I would look at, if we aren't even using that category right now hardly, then maybe there's a moot point. But I just think that medical office, if we're building a new medical office building, they shouldn't be paying, the same rate as the general office. It's just because it's not the same impact, I'm sure of that.
well, we're looking at it from a little bit of a philosophy standpoint on both ends. If we were to go to the consolidated, is there still a mechanism to say a small business is going to build something brand new, a small office space, but brand new, and is going to have to pay the impact fees? Is there still a mechanism to like, hey, I really want to come here, but, your fees are like, do we have something like that? Or would we have something like that? Or that would be just out the window?
The only thing we have is, I guess they could do their own study to prove that they're not impacting,
They wouldn't do that.
which they wouldn't do that.
That's correct, they could do that now if they wanted.
Yeah.
They could do that, and honestly, what we've seen in the past, and I've just worked with Bill doing that, where they could show something as specifically as easy as just basically show the ITE category and make a ratio of that rate to what is being shown in the thing and pay a rate if they want to do that. I've done that with Bill in the past.
Okay.
So it's not very difficult to do.
Right. But I think to Steve's point, the Wawas are still paying not enough. I mean, they would actually pay less under our proposed rates than they did.
Yeah, because I think they have a separate category that they pay per pump.
And we know they generate more traffic.
So-
I mean, a tremendous amount of traffic.
Well, that's the whole point of doing this, was to make sure that the businesses that are coming now are going to pay their fair share, and some of it's going to be, come what may, wherever it falls. We want to make sure the larger people, the generators, are paying their fair way. We don't want to gouge the small guy.
Right.
But I don't think we are doing
But why
the
should
small
we
guy.
decrease
I don't
the
think-
larger users?
I don't think we should.
I don't either. And I think we're doing it.
But you got to have a separate category if you're going to,
That's why I suggested we look at the numbers more.
yeah, okay.
I agree.
Do we have time?
But yeah, we certainly want to meet that
Christopher?
August 7th deadline, whatever we do. That's the main thing. I mean, ideally, we set our rates out there and everybody comes here and nobody says a word because, that's what it costs, you know? That,
I guess that's
But,
a
you
good
know,
point.
Do you have time to do it?
If you have to ask Clancy in terms of that, this is his,
Are you there?
yeah.
Falling
Clancy?
asleep.
if I was Clancy, yeah, I would have probably left.
I mean, if we could identify, I mean, we could probably do it. I mean, we may have to have these workshops over again. If we're changing,
Fine.
you know.
I thought all we were
phasing
determining was
schedules, change, although they changed between the first one and the second one. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but, I'm not sure. I kind of raised a legal question of whether or not we can do those over again. But it wouldn't be possible to add like a limited number of categories without, you know, that would, you know, probably wouldn't change the pay schedule. If we break out medical office as a separate category, well, no, yeah, anything we added as a new category would affect the phasing schedule.
So we would have to have done 2 more workshops. We need to have it the rates pretty well established, right, Clancy?
Yeah, I think we do. Yeah.
So it goes back to,
impossible to
are we
happen before
overthinking
August?
this?
Well, and again, I don't think it's overthinking. I think we're just trying to act as a, you know.
But it always is nice if we could have real life, like, know what Wawa paid and what this guy paid and what they're going to pay. I always get kind of aggravated because we don't have those included with some real buildings that we've actually done.
And I mean, to your point, there's a potential with the bigger users paying potentially less.
Yeah.
That in the overall scheme of things, whatever comes, we could be collecting less impact fees going forward overall because of that. Because we're not going to have, like you said, a lot of the mom and pops are going to come in.
Users, right.
Right, so,
But it has to be fair. I mean, we can't kind of try to gouge certain users, but we have to make sure that we're looking at the high users, pay the fees, and then, you know,
But what I'm hearing now is the time is a factor.
and if we do it, we can't do it for another 4 years?
Just food for thought. We've been going this long with the fees they are. We could always push them out and do this again for next season, basically.
Well, and they were saying something, though, about a deadline for,
But I think that same deadline would be, you can restart.
okay, well,
Yeah, but I'm saying, there's nothing saying we have to change anything now, but you could always go to next season and change it if it pushed out too far or whatever. Like you could restart.
If to start all over again, then there's a whole nother fee structure that we're paying consultants to
well,
do. So
I
one
mean-
of the questions is the phasing, the projection in the presentation is currently we generate about 2.8 million based on our current fees. With the extraordinary circumstances, we would actually increase to about 3.6, 3.7. So there shouldn't be right there on that slide, if you see in the, I guess it's the second column, retained current fees, we would collect about 2.866 million. And with no phasing, which is the reason for the workshop, we would collect 3.685. Oh, I guess I can look at the big one there.
Can we do the public safety and the park this year and do transportation next year?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Transportation, we just have to hire them to,
but can we do the public safety and parks this year and do the transportation next year?
Yes, you'd have to do, the transportation study would have to be redone because the data has to be within 12 months, or the study has to be within 12 months. The public safety is part of the extraordinary circumstances that Clancy talked about. The parks is not. He is proposing that the parks be phased in over 2 years.
Can you
We'll do
separate them?
them now.
Yeah, we can choose to keep the transportation as they are and implement the other impact fees.
I mean, they're all important. So, but
What's,
we don't have the numbers to do transportation right now unless they can really.
what's the cycle that, Billy was talking about, start over again? I mean, is it 4 months? Is it a whole year goes by? I mean,
I don't know that answer.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand. Adding a couple of categories, like we've just talked about, to be sure that everyone's paying their equitable fair share, that we all agree that that it should be extenuating circumstances and we should approve it as soon as it's ready. Are we saying that you and Clancy can't go back and add those few categories, specifically those talked about today, or some that might be suggested by staff, and implement those before we vote on it at the next meeting, for example?
I think it has to be.
I'll let Clancy answer that, but I think if you're specifically adding, like, just call them out and stuff like that, I think possibly it is. I don't know how that changes all the phasing in terms of that, but I mean, certainly we could run the numbers for that, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, an interesting thing too is if you modify something down, well, no, we can't do it. If we created a category, we implemented this, could we modify it later on and say, okay, we feel like that the small guys need a break, so we're going to pull them out of a category, but we're going down in theirs. Can you do that?
Reduce impact fees versus.
Instead of increasing.
Instead of increase them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I follow you mean modify. I mean, the numbers are what they are. If they would they're just going to be based.
But what if
upon-
we say, oh, it's not working, lumping them all in, we need to pull some of these back out? And we're going
saying
down.
6 months from now, a year, or you're saying just do it right now?
Say
6 months from now.
I mean, you can do what you want, I would assume, from that standpoint. It would
But
just-
what I'm saying is when you go down, that doesn't trigger any state statute on.
If you're reducing fees instead of increasing.
Correct.
Yeah, as opposed to, right.
So if we broke them out, I mean, we could say, okay, we're going to pass this thing, but we feel like we're unequitable in some, although Wawa would still be getting away with a lower rate. That's the only. I think you can decrease them as much as you want.
But why don't we, if we're going to do that, then leave them the way they are.
I think that's,
And
I think you're right.
I'd rather leave them the way they are and maybe reduce.
Do park and
I think it,
Please.
obviously, I don't think we're ready to do transportation based on these numbers. So I think we should go ahead with parks and the police, make sure we get those in, and then we can just try to get the others done by August 7th, if not restart.
My concern has been 16 years already, and I don't want to pay for another study.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the modification would be considerably
You should have
less.
paid for one 5 years ago or 8 years ago, so you're ahead of the game.
Are?
Yeah, I think
You're
we should,
equal.
I
You're
think we just
breaking
try to,
even.
if we get specific, I mean, I've heard medical office. Is there another one you want to pull out
Well,
specifically?
and I think the high users in the retail are paying less, but I mean, again, I think it would be helpful to us to have some real world calculations.
I think if we're not
Case studies.
careful, everything, all those high users, every time we charge something like that, will be challenged. And then they'll listen to this tape and.
Yeah. Well, to Steve's point, there's no way we can get it done in the time frame.
I
mean,
agree.
Because, like you said, if we'd have done one 8 years ago, we'll be at the same point, even though I still don't like spending the money. But I mean, I know what you're saying. I get
I
that.
mean-
I know, I get that, right. But can we get it done in a time frame where we can still implement it?
We can try.
I mean,
I'm saying we should agree to do
That's
parks
where you
and
came up with
public
August
safety
17th?
now. And try to get the other one done by August 7th. If we can't, then we.
well, but I think we have to have 2 more workshops before August 7th, though, right? Could it be?
Just transportation. Can we approve the 2 now? Not tonight, because it's a workshop, but can we approve the 2 and then focus on that and just then have a workshop just on transportation?
Yes.
Let me ask you about, so it would still be 2 workshops, though, even if we did transportation.
Before the first
Is there,
reading.
is there any kind of, like, let's say we did one, okay, we're crunched for time, it's the end of July, we do a workshop right after a regular council meeting, and we do a workshop the next day? Is that still 2 workshops? Does that matter that it's consecutive days? I mean, does it have to be a,
Why don't we, we'll probably have a budget workshop. Why don't we do one at a budget workshop, one at the last meeting? We gotta set the millage rate or something, tie it into the last budget stuff.
I mean, I would be inclined, I would like to see if we can get it all by the deadline, and
I recommend that we put on the agenda that we approve the park and public safety ones at the June 10th meeting. Highlight
I support that.
What was the first date you said? Oh, June 10th.
well,
put park and rec on there, can't we? I mean, park and public safety on there.
and honestly, on another study, we're not looking for a complete overhaul. I mean, it should be a lesser study, and should take less time. I mean, I don't think, we're just asking for I think we're just asking for a few modifications. We're not looking for a complete redo.
Hey, Clancy.
They want more because
Because
we're difficult to work
pushing them.
Clancy, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, is it, the fees have to be approved and implemented within 12 months of the start of the study or the completion of the study?
I think the question
Because the completion is much later than August 7th.
is, the new study
Right.
must be adopted by the local government within 12 months of the initiation of the new impact fee study.
Where's he reading that from?
Local government increases the impact fees. So, I mean, the current statute doesn't say anything about adopting the study. But after this goes into effect on October 1st, it's red underlined language.
Right.
In the study. Then you need to approve the study. So right now, you don't need to approve the study. You just need to adopt the, you need to adopt the ordinance within, well, it doesn't say when you adopt the ordinance. You gotta approve the study within 12 months.
Right, yeah, Clancy, the reason for the question is, city attorney sitting next to me, and what he's reading, it says that it must be adopted within 12 months of the completion of the study.
That's after October 7th. That's not the way it is right now. The law doesn't have the red words in it, correct, Clancy?
I'm reading the statute that's in
Right.
place right now.
But it doesn't have it doesn't have, in other words, 4A says ensure that the calculation of the impact fee is based on the most recent and localized data. Right?
Right.
So, and until it goes into effect in October, the 12-month
Do
is,
you have that whole statute in front of you, or just that clip?
I looked at it today.
Okay.
I didn't see, and I
It's
noted.
under G1. It says, demonstrated need for study justifying an increase in excess of those authorized in paragraph B, C, D, and E, which is the not phasing it in, essentially, has been completed within the 12 months before the adoption of the impact fee increase and expressly demonstrates the extraordinary circumstances.
How do you interpret that?
I think, I mean, to me, that's a need study, that it has to be completed within 12 months.
So what if the need study on the transportation is, we can't agree on that, so we need to initiate another need study?
Right, I think either way, if we can get it done before October, we're okay.
I didn't read that language to require that it be completed within 12 months of initiation. I read it as being completed within 12 months before the adoption.
That's correct, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, that's why I'm asking, why do we have to do it by August
August 7th or something.
7th? If that's when you started the study, why is that the cutoff? Maybe I misunderstand what you were telling me.
That's only if you're going to adopt after October 1.
I see, all right.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have to get it done by August 7th, we have to get it done by October 1.
Because we've already had, well, we have to have it done where we can have 2 meetings to adopt the ordinance though, right? So we have to be done by probably September.
Well, we could have the 2 meetings, we could have the 2 readings of the ordinance in September, along with, because we have 2 budget hearings. It can be those same meetings, and the workshops can be anytime before, well,
Well, they have to be before
we
we vote on the ordinance.
before the September meetings. Yeah.
Right.
So we'd have June, July, and August to have, and the first week of September to have both workshops completed.
Do them at the same time as when we start the budget?
Like Steve
The
said.
workshops or the approval of the ordinance?
Well, if we have to get a new study or an adopted study just for the transportation, we have to have 2 more workshops, is what I understand, right?
Correct.
Could we do those, provided we get that information back, I guess?
I think so. I mean, we could do it one at a regular council meeting, and we do one the next week. I don't know about the back-to-back days. That's probably a
But I'm
little-
just saying that.
But if we did it, before or after a council meeting, and then the following Monday, I mean,
You have
it's
a
a week apart.
workshop at 5 o'clock before the council meeting, you pass
That is
the
true, too.
ordinance. in
Oh, you
my
could do that
opinion.
too. So you could potentially, the second one could be right before
It could be right before the first reading.
okay. So, moving forward for today, are we approving anything as far as like,
No, because it's
But we're
workshop, you can't, so it would be a consensus of.
so we need to know something by
okay,
June
move-
10th of what we want to do then, right?
Well, I think the recommendation was to move forward with the parks and the public parks and public safety. But I think before we leave today, we'd like to know what the council wants pulled out, how you want it separated, so that when it's brought back, kind of that's the final document that's brought before you. So is it pull out drive-throughs? Is it pull out convenience stores?
I honestly don't
know
think there was
legally how we
a
do
lot
but,
that,
I mean, to me, it sounds like that's it.
it was really the restaurants in the office space is really what it was, right?
Well, it was the medical and office, and then we were talking about the higher impact users such as the drive-throughs, the Chick-fil-A's,
Right.
the Wawas, so. And if, I mean, it would be so helpful to have, what did Wawa pay and what would they pay under the new ones?
Well, I can tell you, you do want to break out the convenience market with the gas station because, again, they pay per pump. So there's 25 pumps versus square footage. If they paid square footage, it's only a 3,000 square foot building. So it's going to be considerably less if you do it the new way, I guess.
Right.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, so fast food with drive-through pulled out. I feel more comfortable talking about the use instead of the business name.
Sure, fast food with
So
drive-through.
fast food with drive-through pull out.
Gas pumps?
Convenience stores with gas pumps pull out. Everything else is okay as far as the pull medical
Yeah,
out
medical
of.
and versus,
Yes, no.
Yeah, that's what we heard.
So what if that doesn't change the numbers for the smaller user?
Well, I mean, I think the smaller user is less than we think, and the impact is less than we think because
I'm more concerned about the decrease in the high users.
that's exactly right. I
Correct.
say, I agree with Steve. The smaller users are, that's
Right.
exactly what I think too, the increase in the,
you want to look at those categories.
Right,
I think the higher users are, that's exactly right.
yeah, that's,
Because what we say, it went from 125,000 to 8,000?
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's impacting
That's-
the roads. But
And that's exactly right. We're looking at an equitable charge for impacting the current transportation system.
we want to look at some of the residential, because that's impacting. That bring people, we're talking about people who have the right business, restaurant, they're. That's, we need,
And I think we also discussed the fine dining versus the fast food.
Well, and I'm not sure that that's going to be as big of a, because really the fast food is a smaller size too, because you were going 5,000 square feet to 5,000, but
Well, like a quality restaurant drops, actually,
yeah.
from 89, or 9,600 to 7,900.
Yeah, but look at the drive-through one.
Well, I think that's the
No,
point
this, we're
is,
pulling out the drive-through.
Okay,
But
I think that's the point is that they're small buildings, but they generate a ton of traffic, so
Yep.
that square foot analysis isn't really
Working.
capturing the traffic impacts.
you have to add the drive-through.
So Christopher, I think what I'm hearing is we leave the categories as they are, but we pull out restaurants with drive-throughs, so fast food restaurants. We pull out convenience stores with gas pumps, and we pull out medical. If it's a convenience store with just a convenience store, no gas pumps, they pay the retail commercial rate.
Yeah.
Is that what did I hear
Not going
correctly? I see forehead shakes.
Yep.
5, all right.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Like we have consensus, yes.
Yeah. What was the question? Sorry, yeah, I did want to circle back, thank you. You mentioned something about residential and the rates that are paid there.
Well, I just said that the residential apartment, multifamily, and we want those raised as well, because those are the other impact that we're having to the community.
Okay, you're fine with them having, sorry, I was making sure you weren't, all right, I understand. Because they're different rates for single-family detached, multifamily.
Right.
Okay, we're fine with
I'm
the
just saying
residential side.
Higher uses is part of the plan along with those residential users
Got it.
Perfect.
and parachute divers. Okay. Just checking to
Just
see if
seeing
you're
if you
paying
were
attention.
awake.
so you understand the direction just on what the uses we want pulled out. And Chris, you have pretty good grasp, but I guess you guys get your heads together on it.
Yeah, we'll get with Clancy and pull
And-
those out
and
see
I-
how
and I
quickly we
think,
can turn those around.
For my part, I think most of us agree that we would like to get it done all at the same
yeah.
time, too. It'd
Absolutely.
be nice to get it done, so, I mean,
We'll see what Clancy can.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Christopher tomorrow. Matt will be here as well, so we can reach out, see if we can't have a conversation. And depending on timing, we may bring the parks and public safety back at the June 10th meeting. If it's a quick turnaround, maybe we wait to put all three of them together.
okay,
So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, so.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody kind of on the same page right now?
Thank you.
All right,
Make
well,
that
thank you,
Thank you
Chris,
so
thank you, Clancy, too, for listening in, and hopefully you guys can reach out to him, too.
Yeah, I think we can make those changes without any problem, if that's all you need.
Okay. Nothing else, then,
Can we take a restroom break?
yeah, so that, we covered all, well, this is for Billy. We basically covered all three of the workshop items
Yes.
in that conversation, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, citizen comments, is anybody here that wants to add anything? Nathan?
No worries.
All right, I'm just gonna, we have another workshop immediately following this one, but I'm just gonna adjourn for just enough minutes for everyone to take a quick break.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Let's have two of them. I think we have to, oh, we did?
Well, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait any longer, yeah.
Last week, at the May 13th council meeting. That was the first workshop, this is the second one.